Hello, Rascal Entertainment's here.
And Mama Entertainment.
Welcome to the special podcast honoring real-life superhero Stan Lee. Originally, this episode was to air in July for my annual Superhero Month, but in light of Stan's recent hospital visit, we moved it to February instead.
Stan Lee is a pioneer not only in animation and live-action movies, but also in being the king of many firsts in entertainment. This year is no different. With the premiere of Black Panther during Black History Month, Lee has shown Hollywood once again how he keeps his living legend status relevant and all-inclusive.
So today we'll share with you his unparalleled impact on comics, animation, and live-action entertainment, his brilliance in addressing social issues with style and grace, and why he is truly a living legend in our favorite Stan Lee cameos, as we call
Cameo Gold.
No. See, this was aged for 1,000 years. The barrels built from the wreck of Grunhill's fleet is not meant for mortal men.
Neither was Omaha Beach, Blondie. Stop trying to scare us. Come on.
All right.
Excelsior.
So join on this short trip through the comic book galaxy that Stan Lee has guarded since 1939 as an American comic book writer, editor, film executive, producer, publisher,
and former editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics.
Excelsior! We were caught off guard in hearing about the news of Stan Lee being hospitalized a week ago. And we really just want to do this really special podcast in honor of him so that the recognition gets given while he's still here,
right,
and not after he's gone.
Right, because he's almost 100 years old. He just had his 95th birthday back in December, and I was pretty surprised. His birthday was like a day or two after Christmas.
Right.
So I was pretty amazing to hear he is 95 years old.
Yes, and it's so awesome, and we hope he lives to be 95 years more.
Right.
And he's definitely a living legend because of his life's work, because of his impact on, the different facets of comic books, animation, live-action movies, and again, as we mentioned, just his impact on social issues,
right,
that have occurred during each decade.
Mm-hmm.
He's always made it part of his work,
mm-hmm,
and he's always addressed those issues with a grace that a lot of different comic books, a lot of different writers, and a lot of different studios did not choose to have
mm-hmm,
in addressing those different social issues.
Mm-hmm. Also, have you noticed in the comics that he has superheroes from pretty much all parts of the world? There's
mm-hmm.
almost not a country left out. There's plenty of ones from America, of course. We got some from Africa, like Wakanda,
mm-hmm.
and maybe Italy,
mm-hmm.
and just naming random countries. But there's just so many from different parts of the areas that the whole world is just filled with superheroes, and
mm-hmm.
someone's represented from each place. And
right.
that's the great thing. It's a great amount of diversity for every hero and every villain as well.
Absolutely. And this is just a wonderful time for Stan Lee.
Mm-hmm.
He in 1939, when he first started, it was a time of a whole different America.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've got this America where we attempt to be all-inclusive,
mm-hmm.
Regardless of race, creed, color, sexual orientation, and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's awesome to see, just on Netflix alone, not even taking
right.
account of Marvel and the comic books, of how he's have this all-inclusiveness in these different shows that are on Netflix, like
right.
Luke Cage,
right.
and Iron Fist,
Jessica Jones, Daredevil, which are all in the crossover. But
mm-hmm.
as you can check on Netflix, if you have it, you can see a lot of Marvel stuff is on there now, way
mm-hmm.
more than DC. They'll have like a few things, but Marvel seems to have a really big chunk of Netflix, whether it's an original series
mm-hmm.
or one of the theatrical movies or
mm-hmm.
a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
There's quite a bit to choose from. They even got one where they had some football players and sports heroes who were inspired by
right.
the comics and the heroes, and they were interviewing to how the comics made an impact on them
mm-hmm.
before their NFL careers.
Right. And these shows are a little more grittier than you may be used to. But again, this is just a testament to Stan Lee and his versatility. You've got these 4 shows, and they're grittier, but they're action-packed. The stories are well written. Your attention is kept through all the episodes, and I think they generally run about 10 to 13 on average. But there's not an episode that leaves you wishing you had gotten more or wanting more. Every episode's perfectly written and just addresses current social issues and the strengths of each character, not just their superhero strengths, but their personal strengths. And the best thing is, for me, that I've mentioned to Rascal several times, is when a writer keeps the humanity of the characters. And for Stan Lee, that is just his benchmark, his trademark. All of his characters retain their humanity.
True.
No matter what the events are going on, no matter the time period they're in, no matter they're male or female, no matter race, creed, or color, gender identity, that humanity is there. And no matter whom you are, you can relate to the characters that are in the books or the movie or the TV series.
Right. And another great example is that, as you know, some of the heroes have been changed, and most likely he has not had any word in it. Like we've seen recently that Captain America was changed to Sam Wilson, or just an entire new character. Thor was now female instead of male, and apparently we're all marketing strategies, it seems like, to satisfy a certain audience. Well, if you want to do that, just make another character, have Stan Lee come with another character that could be kind of related to the hero. That way they can stand on their own. Don't change it just because you want to satisfy an audience, because as a viewer online named Bob Show said, we don't have a problem with diversity. We have a problem when you change the character we known for so long, then force us to accept this new one, and if you don't, there's something wrong with you, when all you want is just another hero, and there's nothing wrong with the one you had. And Stanley has done a great job for keeping the characters as they are throughout time, and only having to update them because of what's happening in the world, update with the world, but that's it, and they're still the same characters you know from the comics, with just some slight updating.
Right, and even as you were mentioning, with the change in the guard, so to speak, of Captain America going from male to female and so forth, each character is still distinct and different, but still embodies the values that that particular character has had, regardless of the change. And a lot of other, I guess you could say, comic book writers aren't able to do that. When they change the character and decide to change, whether it's the sex or the race and so forth, they change the character so much that the character is unrecognizable, and the values and the personality and different elements that you loved about that initial character are lost in the change. But Stan Lee, somehow in his brilliance, even when he does it, you can see again that value system. You can see the link, the chain that connects each one of the variations of that character, and they still represent what that superhero is about. And it's just brilliance. That's all his.
Right. And also, as you see in the movies and the cartoons, what we love seeing about him is not just the writing and the interviews. Like every time he's on screen, you just light up. Another thing that he's become famous for, of course, is all his cameos.
You okay?
Are you Tony Stank?
Yes, this is Tony Stank.
In just about every Marvel movie ever made, in the animated series, or if he's in a Lego feature, he's always in it. And it's really hilarious how he kind of puts himself in there, and we've seen throughout the years how it went from being just like, oh, can you spot him?
Like finding Mickey Mouse.
Yeah. Can you spot him? Can you see him? To a point where they just put the camera on him saying, here he is.
Because you expect it and you want it, and he knows that we love it, so he gives us exactly what he wants. And it's fun. Even though you know he's going to be in there, you're waiting and anticipating,
like, where is
what
he?
Hilarious way is he going to show up, or how is he going to do this time? And every time you're not disappointed. It's fun, and you enjoy it, and you just come to expect it. From any movie that he's involved with. And again, that's another first. There's no other writer or producer or director who does this, or who has done this for this long period of time, or who is so well loved that you want to see them. So again, this is a man of firsts. There's so many firsts that he's done, and although there's just numerous numbers of them, you can go and you read up on them, or you can buy many books that have been written about Marvel Comics and Stan Lee. You can go to Wikipedia, but we don't want to spend time going over a bunch of facts. We just want to pay homage to the man himself.
Through our experience.
Right. So as you mentioned about the cameos, through this short podcast, you're going to see some of our favorites. And hopefully there's some of your favorites too.
Right.
In the cameos that he's made.
Well, there is one, of course, that comes to mind quickly now because it's recent, is when he had probably one of his first animated cameos in film, is when he was in Big Hero 6.
Right.
And that was really fun.
And that's one of our favorites.
Yeah.
Even though it's animated, that's one of our favorite appearances.
And now we're waiting for him to, like, is he going to be in the series? It was kind of like almost with Adam West. When you have a superhero show, it's almost incomplete without somebody from the superhero world in yours. Like when they used to have Adam West play a superhero or an actor on there, and Stan Lee can just be himself. He doesn't have to play anybody. He can just be himself, and that's enough. And also, like when he he had a big cameo in The Simpsons. Yes. We saw a recent episode where a comic book guy actually finally got married after 100 seasons, and he was ordained by Stan Lee, a comic book wedding.
Just how awesome can you get where The Simpsons puts you in and not only has you as a central character playing yourself, but you're marrying this other character that's central to their show that has this life-changing event, character change for him, where he's being known as this lonely comic book guy stereotype that they choose to change and make it and have Stan Lee be a part of it.
Right. So that was, and we just saw him not too long ago, and it was really fun seeing that both for The Simpsons and for seeing Stan Lee, and it wasn't just like a small little segment. I mean, he was a part of that episode. Right. So it was just fun seeing him once again in animation.
And back to Big Hero 6, again, a first in the type of movie it is. And we'll say is because it's still relevant. Right. And the style was made, and the characters, everything was just so new and different. We'd seen nothing like this before. True. And it's really a well-loved movie. Right. Perfectly done. And part of it that made it as lovable as it is the right casting of voice actors for the characters were just...
They were very relatable.
They were relatable, and they were different. They were different from characters that have been in a lot of other animated movies we've seen recently. Sometimes when you get the groups of characters, you've got these little... I don't want to say stereotypes, but you've got these tropes that they stick with.
It's
you've got
kind
the
of
kid
both.
that's, the nerd kid, and you've got the heavy kid, and you've got the one female character.
There's a smart one, and the muscle,
But with this movie, it wasn't like that. It was a whole new cast of characters with their individual personalities, and they stood out.
Right. And they all were designed differently. Nothing seemed like a cookie cutter type of character where you go, oh, they're from this movie, they're from this movie. It wasn't the trope team that you have of 4 or 5 people in there. It was actually people that could stand on their own and people could relate to and were fans of and like seeing them work together on screen.
And from the very beginning, you cared about the characters. From the very beginning, within the first 5 minutes, you cared what was going to happen. You cared about the characters. You cared about the relationship between he and his brother. Yeah. You cared about everything that went on in the movie. And the cameo of Stan Lee was just the icing on the cake. Right. It just was like, wow. Okay, I knew this movie was great, but now it's perfect great, crazy great. So.
Right. And now we're waiting for him to show up in the spin-off series, so hopefully he'll have a big role in there so he can show up every now and then and not just one episode.
Right. And some of the cameo appearances that we love that you're going to be seeing now while we're discussing this is Fantastic Four. Yeah. Appearance in both 1 and 2.
Yes, those were really fun. There was the one Thor, where he was in the truck. That was pretty funny.
And we have the Incredible Hulk. Even if you're not a fan of the Hulk movies, him making that cameo appearance was still great.
Right, and one with Lou Ferrigno.
Exactly.
And then there was the recent Spider-Man movie, Homecoming, where he was playing one of the neighbors that just randomly shows up out a window.
And while we're on that, again, a testament to Stan Lee and his first in greatness. A third time he's taken this Spider-Man franchise and made it fresh and new and relevant with a great actor, Tom Holland, who has just put life back into the franchise. I mean, he's perfect. This Brit is a perfect American who has this humbleness and this innocence to him. And he just makes you love the Spider-Man franchise all over again.
And it's one of my favorite Marvel movies now. I wanted that movie for a long time. I was like, I finally got it.
Definitely. We also have Captain America's, the movies 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
And which is a great franchise in itself.
Right. And in each time it's always a different way. When he's a military guy, and then he's a security guard. It's like, wait a minute, how'd you were around from then to now? Gosh. And there was another one. He was the FedEx guy with Tony Stank.
Are you Tony Stank?
Yes, this is Tony Stank.
And then Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2.
Right.
And those are impressive also.
Right. And the first one was, he's always with a woman in most of the cameos. I thought it was pretty hilarious. Only in one, like in the X-Men movie, was he with his a wife in one of the movies. But it was hilarious that every single one he had.
He's a ladies' man.
He had women on each arm. He was always with a woman. And then I got that in one movie. And then it was his wife. And it was hilarious.
And I'm sure there are some other cameos that probably are your favorites as well. And you can go online, and there's going to be a link in the description. We'll make sure there's a link in the description so that you can go straight to his channel, because the clips that you're seeing are courtesy of this channel. And thank you so much for
providing us with this material, and it's really fun to just watch on your own. Even if you don't watch this is just fun to watch. It's like he's in all these movies, 10 minutes worth of footage of him.
So click on his link, give him a follow, thank him for the great information and the great videos he has on Stan Lee.
Okay, another thing we're going to talk about is
teaming up with Disney.
Yeah, and that was kind of a surprise because Marvel was a big company on its own, Disney was a big company on its own, and now they're working together to do the content. And for a while, they actually had a couple great shows. Like they had Earth's Mightiest Heroes, then Avengers Assemble, Spider-Man got a couple series. And unfortunately for the new one, though, it's not as great as the previous ones. But they still have stuff that Guardians of the Galaxy, Hulk got his own show. A lot of characters got their own shows. Unfortunately, the downside is Disney has decided to cancel all of them. So once they finish their seasons, they are going to be gone for good. And it's kind of shocking considering how much they pushed a lot of Marvel content and movies. All hearing that they want to cancel everything they're putting out is kind of baffling for Disney. And even though not every show they've had is great, it's still great to see them get a spotlight and having, of course, the cameos once again by Stan Lee. And especially they get to be in Lego form with him again in it. He seems to have a part in everything, and whether it's animated or not. And like I said, they may not be perfect, but it's great to see all these heroes get some spotlight in these shows, whether standalone or team up or just for an episode. And how much it has, of course, impacted more of superhero animation, too.
Another thing that I wanted to mention is if you want to learn more directly about Stan Lee's life, his impact on animation, comic books, producing, writing, directing, there is a Netflix series you can just type in Stan Lee and look up. Not a series, but it's about an hour and a half, I would say, a biography, and Stan Lee appears in it, and he's in it with his wife before she passed, and it's just awesome and wonderful. They talk about his beginnings, of course, and his just his entire journey through entertainment and the contributions he's made in many different facets of the entertainment industry, and I think it takes place to up to 2015. And it's just one of the best documentaries that I've ever seen by any company on someone who's well loved. And the same company also did one on Adam West that's just as brilliant. So if you want to type that in and look that up as well, there's some great ways to just get more in touch with Stan Lee and learn more about, you know, his thought process and what his goals have been all this time, and just why he does what he does, and how much he loves what he does, and how much he loves, you know, his fans, and how the fans fit into his life. So you've got Netflix. Just type in Stan Lee and take a look at it.
Yeah. And it's just, like I said, it's just really fun seeing him and everything. And he still is being in the movies and writing and taking charge of all of his content. And it's just so much fun and great to see. It's like an honor in the superhero world just to meet him or just look at him on screen.
Right.
And the only thing is like one flaw out of the many perfect things. There was one movie he made quite a while ago, back in 2000s, that he starred in himself with an all-star cast. Was called Stan Lee's Mighty Seven, and it was supposed to be an adaptation of another like a manga series, but they kind of slightly Americanized it with anime style animation, and with a slew of big time American actors and actresses, singers were in it and starring as the characters. And Stan Lee was actually starring in it himself rather than a cameo. He actually was the star of it, which was actually kind of a change for what he's usually done. And unfortunately for us, the movie wasn't as exciting as we thought it was going to be, but it was still great seeing him on screen, and more than just a few seconds or an episode. He had a whole hour to himself.
And also a testament to him being a man of first. This is something that we hadn't seen be done by any other writer of comics that would take this approach. And even though it was a miss, just the fact that he took had the impetus to make something like this and try to go in a different direction, especially, you know, after decades of doing things one way. It's still just a testament to Stan Lee and his versatility.
So he did something different.
Exactly. And his brilliance and just his willingness to be the first to do many things. And, you know, once he takes that step, then there are many people who always follow. So we just want to say get well soon. And that your many fans are praying for you and waiting for your return. If you have a Twitter account, go on Twitter and send him some well wishes. He does have a Twitter account.
Yes.
And he's been very active on it for many years. And also take some time and go to sites like Tumblr or DeviantArt and look at some of the brilliant fan art that people have made of not only Stan Lee but his characters. So just get yourself more familiar with him and his work and his characters, and show Stan Lee a lot of the love that we have, not just in saying it now, but, you know, sending him well wishes and just letting him know that, you know, we need him and we want him and we love you.
Right. And without you, the superhero world would be so much different compared to what heroes we get now that are not his. It would just be so different without him in it.
Yeah, and we can't imagine the comic book world, animation world, the live action adaptations. We just can't imagine any of them being what they are, existing without Stan Lee. It's just, you can't imagine what the landscape would have been like.
Right.
But we know this, it would not have been as vibrant. It wouldn't be as diverse, intelligent, full of fun and drama and action, great writing, distinctive characters, and those cameo gold appearances we love by Stan Lee.
It's like, there he is!
So, thanks for tuning in to this special podcast for Stan Lee, paying homage to a great man.
I'm Rascal Entertainment.
And I'm Mama Entertainment.
Excelsior! And have a toontastic day.
Peace.
Hey, fellas. Hey, wait, where are you going? Hey, you were supposed to be my lift home. How will I get out of here? Hey, gee, I've got so many more stories to tell. Guys. Oh, gee.
And reporters sitting, flashing lights, trying to walk around, man, who the hell are you? What you wanna do? Well, man, it's on you. Man, it's on you. Hit her in my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket, give it to you